All right, so I think we're starting to find a rhythm here with the Jolly Green John, the podcast for Philadelphia Eagle fans. We are not here to do anything and sell you anything less than Philadelphia Eagle fandom. I'm excited. This coming week is going to be WrestleMania next week in the Lincoln Financial Field. If you're not a fan of wrestling, you need to loosen up a little bit and enjoy the ride. It's a lot of fun. But more importantly, I wanted to allow free agency to hit its pinnacle so I can sit back and really analyze the depth chart. I think the first couple episodes here, just telling stories, sharing with you from my window what I experienced as an Eagles fan, my growth, my development as an Eagles fan, my story. But I think now, last episode, I talked a little bit about Jalen Hurts and how the delusional Dallas syndrome can cause people to actually judge Jalen Hurts unfairly as a talented quarterback. While Dak Prescott has yet to do anything in his 10-year career, it was ironic his brother had the audacity to even put Jalen's name in his mouth. But now it's time for me to take a look at this and share with you some of my insight on, or my input and my opinion on this depth chart. The team that we're going to be screaming at, yelling at, and breaking televisions over. But this is what it's all about. So, I think back about how teams retool. I think about how this is a blessed season for any Philadelphia Eagles fan who is under the age of 19 or 18, who's never experienced the Joe Banner days where the Eagles would sign, pretty gassed out B-plus players in the offseason, make a big free agency splash that was miscalculated. Then we have the Chip Kelly era, which was just I think Chip Kelly was sent here by the Washington Commanders and sent here by the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys as a pariah to destroy this team. He dismantled one of the most prolific and potent offenses this team has ever seen. Jeremy Maclin, highly underrated. Deshaun Jackson, highly underrated. LaShawn McCoy, doesn't underrated. Talks so much you wouldn't believe me saying, but he is highly underrated. And Michael Vick, who I preferred McNabb, but Michael Vick did his thing. And it was an era where I was really upset with the Eagles for doing what they did to Donovan, sending him to the Redskins at the time. I felt they could have sent him to the Bears and let him have a homegoing end to his career for what he's done to the city, for the city. But, you live and you learn. But we're in a time now post Super Bowl 2017 Super Bowl run where the Eagles actually retool their offenses and retool their defenses pretty proficiently, and they find players that have talent. They find players that are worth the time, worth the money, and I can only point to the Terrell Owens, Javon Curse free agency period. Because right now, this is really exciting. The Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith free agency signings were not, I didn't think those were going to be a Super Bowl caliber team. And when we brought in LeGarrette Blount, I knew our run game would be solidified. Jay Ajayi popped in, I think around right before the season really got hot. And I always thought the Philadelphia Eagles were still kind of rebuilding with Carson Wentz. I mean, he started playing really good football. And I was like, okay, the Eagles have an easy, schedule, so they're going to take advantage of it. I didn't think we would dismantle the Vikings the way we did and have since that time. So that was really a surprise team. So a targeted offseason where you're really not rebuilding, but retooling and recalibrating an offense is what Howie Roseman has been doing for the past, I'd say, 5 years. He's really taken his time to get talented players from talented programs to play on a team with talented personnel. We start with the offensive line, we start with the defensive line, and we build from the inside out. So what I want to do today is take a look at these the depth chart and kind of give some feedback on what I think is really kind of stands out to me and people I think will and will not make this team in the big picture. So let's see where we left off. The Philadelphia Eagles post-Super Bowl 2022, heartbreaking game. I still feel like the Eagles won it, but you can't do that kind of stuff, right? You just got to take the loss and shake a hand and demonstrate sportsmanship, The following year was one of the most traumatizing team collapses in NFL history. I've never seen a team sputter like a classic car, just sputter down the road and then explode. Not even just turn off. I've had a couple cars in my life where they've driven me somewhere and they just didn't turn on in the parking lot. I've had that happen to me. Radiators go out, catalytic converters get jacked by somebody. I lived in California. They steal those things on the regular. They had to replace that thing like 8 times. Or the engine would just die. The battery was toast. The gas run out. This was an explosion. I've never seen a team with so much talent. It's not like a team that was poorly constructed. No, the Philadelphia Eagles were a Super Bowl caliber team. And as we all know, what an epic failure that was. And it cost us Fletcher. It cost us Jason Kelsey's careers. Thank God Brandon and Lane came back one more time, so it's not that painful. But this offseason, Howie Roseman apologizes by actions, not words. Comes out and takes care of the running game. So let's talk about the Eagles offense. The Eagles offense was pretty much, I wouldn't even call last year an offense. Last year was a Madden rookie offense. The Eagles were very uncreative, had no creativity, had no dynamic component to the game outside of the tush push or the brotherly shove. So where do you upgrade this team? Everywhere. You upgrade pretty much in the front office. Bringing in Kellen Moore was a very big deal because now you have somebody experienced in play calling that can move this ball. I'm confident, not because of what he did with Dak Prescott. I'm confident because of what Kellen Moore has done in his career, that we can have Jalen Hurts with a more coherent offensive coordinator calling plays. So let's talk about this offense. So that's where it all begins. Jalen Hurts being our quarterback, I'm with this guy. I like this guy a lot. Mobility, has all the intangibles. I wish he'd loosen up a little bit. Sits on that sideline, pretty depressing sometimes. I need like a more of a rah-rah quarterback, but he leads by example. Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, Will Grier. I see Will Grier and Tanner McKee definitely being the 3 and 4, remaining on the sideline in practice squads. Just to run the offense. Tanner McKee, I think, is actually more talented than people give him credit. But Kenny Pickett has the experience of being a starter. That's why he supplants Tanner McKee in that quarterback room. But I think the biggest thing that stands out in the 4 quarterbacks we have on this team is that only one has demonstrated proficient mobility. I don't know about Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, Will Grier. I think they're statue quarterbacks. They're probably more or less a Kirk Cousins, more or less, just a typical Sam Howell, a typical, Sam, I almost said Sam Bradford, but typically quarterbacks that are young, but still does not promise mobility. I see Jalen throwing for a lot of yards this year because the run game is solidified. He can now be more confident that he's not going to be the guy he doesn't have to feel that everything he does requires him to be preserved for the next play. So I see him playing a little bit more dynamic like he did 2 years ago, where the run game is much more of a threat. That RPO offense and that run pass option is going to be such an important piece for his game because now you're not going to try to hand it off to Devontae Smith, who they know is not going to get the ball. It's like DeAndre Swift. It's not going to be a running back that's not utilized. I see Kellen Moore strategically using the run game, and that's where we go next. So Jalen Hurts, quarterback, no questions at all. But the running game is different. The running back room is a little different. Saquon Barkley comes in at a high cost. You're paying him $15 million a year. You got to use this guy 3 downs, but I don't see the Eagles ever being a team since the Westbrook days to commit so heavily to the run. LaShawn McCoy, I apologize, was probably the most utilized running back. And it was sad to see how the Eagles just kind of moved on from him. But that was a Chip Kelly anomaly. I see Saquon being here for 3 years. I see him definitely getting 2 downs, a set of drives, a set of downs. I see him in a first and second, first and third. I think they continue to use Kenny Gainwell in a mixed match. They like Gainwell. Gainwell's still in that rookie contract deal, man. They're going to probably extend him as well as the new Boston Scott, but just a little taller, a little more broad. I think Boston has run his course with this team. I love Boston Scott. You can bring him back as much as you want to. But at some point, you realize he's getting underutilized and less usage and less mileage every year to where he's better off just going somewhere else. But I still see the Eagles bringing him back. He reminds me of that Correll Buckhalter longevity without the usage, because Correll was always hurt. But having them use Kenny Gainwell in the mixed match with Saquon, I think they just like the mix up. Lou Nichols, Tyrion Davis Price, that might be something we just kind of smash and move on from after the draft when we pick up a running back in the draft. I just feel like we're going to still pick up somebody in like the 5th, 6th round that just kind of fills in that need as a third running back option, maybe a kick returner.